What's good, guys? We're back at it like a crack addict, and today we gotta talk about it, fam, because I told y'all I was gonna cook anybody that decided to say some dumb shit about this topic, and anybody that dropped a comment, a tweet, or anything trying to say something dumb was gonna get held accountable, and that's what I'm doing today. I was in bed laying with my girl, we were watching some TV, we were watching Peacemaker, matter of fact, and you guys started tweeting, you guys started messaging me, you guys started sending me a lot of videos and a lot of comments from a lot of these weird people in the internet, bro, that for some reason have a stick up their ass and are mad because some of us players would like some combat events where we get to use the characters we're summoning on. I don't understand how that simple topic became such a big problem. I really don't get it. Let's be honest, Wuthering Waves is a game that has been advertised as having good combat, as combat being one of its focuses, right? So why are people so mad that other players want combat events every now and then? Look, we're not upset or bothered or a little disappointed that 2.7 doesn't have combat events. We're a little bit upset, bothered that 2.5 barely had them, if it even had them, that 2.6 barely had them, if it even had them, and now 2.7 barely has them or doesn't really have them, right? That's what we're talking about. We're not doom posting, we're not attacking the game, we're not downplaying the amazing story and the work that Kuro does to deliver said story. We're not talking bad or saying they should remove the events like tower defense, puzzles, and color matching events. All we're saying is, hey, a little more variety in your events would be good. It's great that you guys are pleasing the more casual players with the basic events like tic-tac-toe, color matching, and hamster on a wheel. We like that you're, adding new events like the tower defense. It was very well done. But we would also like a little variety and a little bit of combat events. And somehow, some way, it's turned into you guys are doom posting. You guys are children. You guys are angry because you're not saying the events are great. You guys should get off and play other games instead of complaining that the game is not doing what you want. Look, we want the game to be better. And we're also having a civilized conversation promoting how the game could do things in a more varied way to please all their player base, all their customers, right? But for some reason, it's turned into a shitstorm. So today, I want to take a look at some of these comments. Some are actually from other creators, some are from comments on my videos, some are from comments on other videos. So let's go ahead and see what's actually going on. So the first comment I have is from this person called Nova, and they said, wait, on the Play Store, WuWa is promoted as a game with a rich story, not fast-paced combat and so on. Even though combat is only an in-game feature, what's the first one? Wuthering Waves is a game with a rich story. So basically they're saying that because Wuthering Waves in certain platforms is promoted as a game with a rich story, it's not really a combat or fast-paced combat game. So because it's focused on the story, it can't have, a focus on combat as well. It can't have both, right? Let's go back a bit. Even Solon once said that they would focus on the story and give their best. Even I still remember that. There is a mistake here. Kuro themselves gave the initial taglines as a game with a rich story. If the focus is on combat, it should be like PGR, which from the start immediately promoted its combat in the game description because PGR is indeed their selling point. But WuWa, the first thing they wrote in the description was rich story. Now, I feel that they're being very nitpicky with what they use to promote the game to pretty much make it seem, yo, it's just a story game, so they shouldn't really make combat events. They shouldn't really focus on the combat at all. Like, that's not what WuWa's about. It's about a rich story. So many CCs say they like WuWa, but WuWa's main promotion doesn't even know it. If WuWa was really selling combat from the start, why would they invest in story? If WuWa was really selling combat from the start, why would they invest in the story? I don't know, because a lot of games focus on multiple things. They could deliver quality combat, quality stories, quality open worlds. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. A lot of games out there deliver high quality in multiple aspects of their game, not just one aspect. So that take alone is about as brain dead and simplistic as you can get. They would have been better off sticking with the story from the start, just like in 1.0. Yo, 1.0, everybody was saying the story was trash. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people. That was one of the things that most people said was boring. The very slow start and boring start to WuWa's story in 1.0. But Kuro knows that their main selling point for WuWa is a rich story. That's why they improved the story and continue to improve its quality until now. Yes, they have improved the story and continue to improve it, which is amazing. I applaud them for that. I can't wait for the 2.7 story with the whole Avengers lineup. Try searching for WuWa and reading the game's description. What do they promote first? They promote WuWa combat at the end. The game's description explains the game. That's what's most important and whatnot. The description isn't just made up. This guy is basically saying the game is a combat-rich game and that's its main focus. That's really all they should be focusing on. Combat is barely a thing. It's like a second thought when it comes to Wuthering Waves. So I want to see what he's talking about. So if you go to the Play Store right here and you look up Wuthering Wave, it is indeed going to say a rich story open world action RPG as its first words to promote the game. But within the same description, it also says, delve into an expansive world, embrace high degrees of freedom and immersive world exploration, utilize flight, grapple, and wall dash to travel great distances and overcome obstacles with little strain for stamina consumed. Pretty much talking about the open world and all these things you can do in its immersive overworld exploration. So promoting another aspect of the game quite heavily. And then it goes like this. Strike fast and unleash your inner warrior. Engage in smooth and fast-paced combat. Avail against enemies, attacks in smooth and fast-paced combat. So once again, it's promoting smooth and fast-paced combat. So it's another aspect of the game. Now, when we go back to the current state of Wuthering Waves, there's been now several patches where we haven't gotten smooth and fast-paced combat events. So it's not like players are just doom posting or upset because, hey, this patch we're not getting anything. No, it's been dry on an entire aspect of the game. But, yo, this is just PlayStation. Let's move on to the other examples. We have Wikipedia. Wikipedia. The best and most legitimate source of information. We all know it's kind of trash, but let's read it, right? We go over here. The game development also draws inspiration from various sources, including Punishing Gray Raven for its combat mechanics, as well as Pokemon games for its ecosystem. Wuthering Waves has been compared to other titles of the genre, such as Genshin Impact, but aims to place greater emphasis on its combat system compared to its predecessors. Okay. So once again, another source that also states that it does focus on its combat system. We know that Wuthering Waves focuses on its combat system. That's why you have such good mechanics like parry, dodging, intro and outro, concerto, all these different things that make combat feel so good. But, bro, that's just Wikipedia. That's nothing. The game is only meant to be a story-rich game. Let's go ahead and go to the official Wuthering Waves YouTube channel. Let's go to the official Wuthering Waves YouTube channel and check this interview. Dev interview. What we've been doing during the last 9 months. Let's go ahead and see what the devs had to say. Okay.
其实战斗部分算得上是明朝的一个强将了。玩家们既可以通过一系列简单的操作就打出酷炫的连招，同时游戏里也保留了一些细腻的操作空间。其实我还挺好奇的，明朝在这一部分有做出什么新的突破吗？
其实我们的目标一直是想要
They strive to create intense combat experiences for gamers of all levels. Okay, interesting. Okay, and now they're gonna go into how they work on their combos and all that good stuff. So my main question is for this person right here that said, yo, it's a rich story game. They're not really promoting the combat that much. If they would have done it, it would have been at the beginning of the actual description. Why do the devs say this? If they themselves are focusing on the combat, they've stated that they want to work on good combat experiences. Why haven't we really seen much of this in the last few patches, right? So that whole story and that whole shtick completely falls apart because it just actually makes no sense, bro. Let's be honest. Just because Kuro Games is focusing on the story and they're doing a great job with it doesn't mean that they can't work on combat and combat events. Right now, moving on to the next one. This video right here by the homie Faros, and I gotta say, this is a really good video. I'm gonna react to it on stream tomorrow. I seen the very beginning of the video because you guys wanted me to react to it. But the whole idea behind this is you guys wanted me to see that he reacted to this particular post by another content creator by the name of Legions. Now, this post is quite interesting. We're going to react to it, and you guys sent me another post by him that you guys want me to give my opinion on, and there's a few other things I want to talk about. So here we see that Legion says, there is dead-ass people that are angry about WuWa 2.7 having no combat events and saying the Vampire Survivors game will only be a few hours of gameplay. Now, no. People are not angry about WuWa 2.7 having no combat events. People are upset about 2.5 barely having any, 2.6 barely having any, and 2.7 barely having any, if any of these patches actually had a solid combat first type of event. If any. That's not one patch. That's not two. We're going on to 3. That's why people are upset. You know, people could take, you know, 1 patch is fine. 2 patches, but come on, 3. That's why people are a little bit annoyed regarding this particular scenario, and I feel it's absolutely valid. I don't feel that we should be discrediting the people that feel that, yo, I'm playing this game, building my teams, building my characters, and I want to fight some bosses. I want to have some challenges. I want to do some events where I actually get to do some interesting stuff with these teams that I've built. Is a bad thing. I don't see why people are pointing that out to be a bad thing. Now it continues where he lists out some games that are going to be coming out, and then he says, so other gachas to play as well. Do y'all literally not play anything except WuWa? When I have nothing to do in WuWa, I log in, do my dailies for 5 minutes, and log out and play a different game. Hell, sometimes I don't even log in. People, go play other games. Now, I play other games. A lot of people play other games. He says he logs in for 5 minutes. Okay, great. I'm glad you log in for 5 minutes, but why can I log in for 5 minutes and have a combat event? You log in for 5 minutes and you like doing your puzzle events, your tic-tac-toes. I want to log in for 5 minutes and maybe have a combat event. Why is one thing valid but another one isn't? You know what I'm saying? Like that's where I think the problem, for me at least, really comes in. Now here is the post as well, and then people were, you know, going back and forth. The post actually got quite a bit of traction. And then here he says to this person that says, yeah, bro, I want no content on the game I like so I can play other games. Exactly. I feel that that's one of those things where it's fine if the game naturally has no content because you've already played it all. But when it's not dropping the type of content you're expecting from a game that marketed itself a certain way, I feel like it's fine to speak out on it if you're doing it respectfully and trying to drop some constructive criticism, right? But actually telling people, yo, go play other games when the game you like is not actually doing good, or, you know, providing some of the things that were expected of the game, is kind of a weird way to promote the growth of the game. So he replies, so since you're one of the dumb ones, let me explain something to you. Since you guys do not understand how these games work, we don't understand how gacha games work, because these are like rocket science. We're talking about absolute complexity when it comes to gacha game models. It's extremely hard to understand. So Legions is going to explain to us how it is that they work. This is a mobile gacha game that gets updates every 6 weeks. That does not mean you are supposed to have 6 weeks of content to play it 8 hours a day. And once again, this goes back to a topic I actually talked about in one of my videos, that I don't know where the idea is coming from, that because we want a combat event, we want to play 8 hours a day. I don't understand how people are strawmanning the argument and moving the goalposts from you guys want a combat game to you guys want to play for 8 hours a day. Like, I don't understand where the, you know, the relation between those two subjects are. I don't get it whatsoever. I don't mind if I play the same 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, right? When it comes to the type of events. It could be a puzzle, it could be a combat event. I just want to fight with the characters I'm pulling. It's that simple. It can take the same 20 minutes. It can take the same 1 hour that the tower defense event takes, but I get to use my character. So I don't see the connection there, right? You want that, you go play an MMORPG. You people that bitch and moan about not having content do not understand this, and that is your problem. Like I said, go play other games while you're waiting for new content, or better yet, go outside. So once again, I feel that the whole go outside, go play other games is this type of like moral high ground, like, yo, y'all gotta go touch some grass. Like, bro, it ain't really that deep. It ain't really that deep. It's like nobody can have an opinion that can express that they're really not happy with the current state of the game because, oh my God, they're just no lifers. You got to go out and touch some grass. It's really not that deep, bro. We're just saying we would like to see more content in the game. Now, after this, you guys send me this, and there's some points that you guys really want me to touch up on. So he was replying to someone else that was saying that he barely plays the game. So he goes and says, bet he only does the story and nothing else. Man, you look dumb as fuck right now. Because they told him that, well, they think he only does the story and that's it. And then he provided a video where he shows that he's done a bunch of content. After that, he says, I guarantee you that I play the game more than you and support the game financially a shit ton, right? Now, I feel that that's not really a valid point as to how to validate your point, right? Because if we're really going to use that as a reason to validate your point, to say, yo, my point holds more weight because I play the game more than you and I spend more than you, shit, then my point got a whole lot of weight to it, bro, because shit, I mean, I'm just saying, I ain't trying to flex, but if we're gonna be out here saying that because we spend more money than our points hold more value, then goddamn do my points hold a whole lot of value. I'm just throwing that out here, ladies and gentlemen, and I just want to say, some of these yawns, they also got R5 weapons. I just want to throw that out there, bro. I just want to throw that out there. So I don't think that's an actual valid reason to be out here validating our argument, okay? Now, it goes on to say, difference is I'm not a retard, and I know that there is no way this game can make more than 8 hours of content every 6 weeks. You mean to tell me that a game company that is making millions upon millions of dollars every month cannot make more than 8 hours of content every 6 weeks? What? They can rerun events. They can use existing assets in the game, right? Let me give you a perfect example. You say that there is no way this game can make more than 8 hours of content every 6 weeks. If we just count the story, the map exploration, and the amount of content in the tower defense event to get it all done, and by all done, I mean all the waves done, that is easily more than 8 hours. That is easily, bro. We might even be looking at like 15 hours, give or take, depending how long you do the tower event for, and you know, how long it takes you to complete it, how long it takes you to explore the map, finish everything on the map. And then there's all the intricacies of the other events and maybe even building the units. So I don't know what you mean by, you know, this game can't really make more than 8 hours of content every 6 weeks. When they're making this much money, they can rerun events, and there's plenty of ways that they can extend the gameplay of the patch. Not saying that that's where we're focusing on. We're not focusing on how long we can play the game during the patch or every single day. We're more so focusing on wanting some combat events, right? Now, especially considering 3.0 is right around the corner and they're busting their ass to bring new content, new characters, new settings, the Cyberpunk collab, and exploration mechanics. Listen, I would hope they're, you know, busting their ass and they're adding all these things. They're making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, right? But all you people want to do is bitch about not being able to have 40 hours of content on a mobile gacha title every 6 weeks. Look, nobody is bitching about having 40 hours of content every 6 weeks. We could have the same hours that we've had in all the other patches. We just want combat events every now and then, a variety of content. Why is that so? Why are people tying combat events with wanting 10 times more hours to play in the game? I'm honestly lost as to how one thing ties to the other. I honestly don't understand. These games are not designed to be played that way, the way that you want, and they are never going to. The people would be better off playing MMOs, but we all know that the ones bitching can't even afford a monthly subscription for those games, let alone $70 game, and that's why they're mad. No, we're mad because there's not a lot of variety in the content. There's not a lot of combat events. It's really not that deep or difficult to understand whatsoever, right? I will enjoy the 8 hours of content. I'm glad you will enjoy the 8 hours of content. I want to enjoy the 8 hours of content as well. All we're asking for is a little bit of variety in combat events. I've said it like 5 times. Why do everybody got to enjoy the same 8 hours by doing the same exact thing? And why is it so wrong to express that you're not satisfied with a specific aspect of the game. Now, if people were asking for like sports or competitive, you know, racing in the game, something that was never actually promoted, or PvP, and they were like, why is there no PvP event? I'll be like, yo, y'all dumb? That was actually never marketed as part of WuWa. But we're talking about things that were marketed as part of WuWa, things that we've already had in the game before. So it's really not that deep, right? Now, through all the story and exploration and events, which is probably going to take well over 10 hours if you include the story, and then I will happily move on to one of my many other games that I have to play while I wait for them to cook up more content. The people complaining are not real fans of the game. No, I actually think that people complaining are real fans of the game. And the people that are just saying move on to another game are the ones that are not the real fans. Because you see, we're not attacking the game. We're not saying, yo, Kuro sucks, you're trash, screw your game, I hope your game dies. We're saying, hey, listen, great job with the story, it's looking amazing, I can't wait. Yo, great job with the soundtracks, that music, chef's kiss. Yo, them events you guys are putting, yo, that Vampire Survivors looking event is looking really cool. I know I'm gonna have a great time with it. But how about you guys add a little bit more variety and a little bit of combat events so I can test these units that I've been pulling for a few patches and haven't really had anywhere to use them on apart from Tower and WuWa. That would be kind of cool. You know, we've had some combat events in the past. Would be nice to see some again. That's all, right? And those are the ones branded as not real fans of the game, but the ones telling other players, yo, just go play other games. Wait until they have a new patch with some good content to come back and play. Those are the real fans, right? That's what I'm gathering from that, right? Or they would understand all this, especially with 3.0 around the corner. The collab and Kuro has given us 4 straight patches with amazing content. Listen, one person's amazing content could be another person's mid content. It could be another person's bad content. And the reality of it is that if we break it down by the types and the variety of content, there's been a lot of mid content. There's been a lot of, you know, typings of content more than others. There's been more leisure events. There's been more like puzzles, more laid back content as opposed to actual combat driven content where we get to test out our characters. It's just that simple. There hasn't really been a lot of variety. Now moving on to the next one, we have this guy right here saying, I refuse to believe people have their priorities so wrong to a point where a combat event worth 1 hour of content out of 40 days patch cycle is what defines a good or bad patch. Gacha games don't have content and never will. 1 extra hour of combat per patch won't change that. Once again, it goes back to people making it about hours, making it about how long we play. Bro, where are people connecting these things? Bro, they can give us an event that lasts the same exact amount as the tower defense. A combat event that lasts the same exact amount to clear as the tower event. We would be happy. We would be extremely happy. Make it like a tower mode. You get to 99 waves and you get a little title, just like the tower defense event, and we would be happy. No more, no less hours. The exact same. It's not about the amount of time that you play the game, but what you do while you play the game. It's really not that hard of a concept to grasp, right? So I ended up making this post right here, and I'm gonna read it because I am about to like, you know, freestyle this. Regarding the whole WuWa 2.7 update and the lack of combat events and entertaining content, I don't know how or when the argument got flipped and turned into how long you can play the game. That has nothing to do with what CCs are talking about. It don't matter if we play the game for the exact same 5 minutes we get to play when we get a puzzle event. It's more so about the content we get to play during those 5 minutes. Sure, puzzles, tower defense, and hamsters on a wheel is nice every now and then, but so is an event where we fight some bosses or mobs with our units that we've spent time building and grinding. That's the whole concept of everything. Look, I'm gonna be honest. The simple thought that anybody would have an issue with that argument and those statements show how far up their own ass they must be to think people should only play the game the way they see fit. None of the creators that said they wanted more combat events said they wanted Kuro to remove the puzzles or the tower defense or leisure events. All they said is that they would like a little more combat oriented events where they could use the characters they have been pulling and building, all in a game that has been promoted as a combat being one of its main focus points. So to all you people trying to act like you're in a higher moral ground or a more mature and stable individual, talking about play other games, touch grass, it's just a gacha game, or just enjoy content Kuro is making, really check what your argument is versus what we're actually saying, and don't try to strawman an argument into a different direction, because that's one thing I'm not going to allow none of y'all to do. Strawman the argument, lead it in a different direction. We staying on topic, motherfuckers. We ain't talking about wanting more hours to play. That's a whole nother topic. We ain't talking about, yo, take out these events and add these. We're just talking about a little more variety, a little bit more events where we can test out our characters, and that's it. So don't change the argument, right? Us CCs talking about this issue can sit here and say, yeah, the leisure events, puzzles, login events, color matching events, tower defense modes, and so forth and so on are well made and give good rewards. I'm glad they are there for the player base. I just wish they would add a little bit more combat events, like normal civilized adults, but we get branded as Doom posters, no-lifers, elitists, and who knows what. But some people can sit here and say, nah, they don't need to add more combat events. I like the current game just like this. Get off the game, get a life, you Doom posting angry crybaby. And these are the logical, level-headed, fair, and rational individuals? Really? The fuck kind of world we live in, where this scenario of us CCs are the problem, and a bunch of these other folks are the rational and fair individuals? Because it makes no sense to me. I'm going to be all honest with you. It absolutely makes no sense. Now, the last post I got goes back to the whole time thing. I guess people forget that WuWa is a gacha game in the end of the day. Gacha games tend to just be the typical 10 minutes a day. What does it matter if it's 10 minutes a day? I could do a puzzle event for 10 minutes, or I can fight a boss for 10 minutes. I just want to fight the boss. I just want more variety. Bro, I swear, it feels like I'm speaking to a bunch of inbred retards when it comes to this particular topic. And up to this point, I've been rather calm. I wanted to keep it chill. I wanted to be, you know, more level-headed. But when you keep going back to the whole more time to play other games, why do you want to spend 40 hours in the game? It's like, what are you talking about? When did we ever say any of this? When was that ever brought up? Maybe it's hard for you to understand, but this kind of games is not about the gameplay itself. So Wuthering Waves is not about the gameplay itself. I remember when WuWa came out and all these people and all these creators would be talking about how WuWa, it's about the gameplay. How WuWa, it's about the combat, the parrying, all of these different mechanics, how they would praise Donjin mains, and how WuWa is a good game with a lot of skill expression. And now, out of nowhere, is not a game about the gameplay itself, which is really good already. It's about getting characters and making them better. It's about getting characters, making them better, and never testing them in any new content, because we just do Tower and WuWa over and over again, and we can't ever say we'd like some new content because, oh my god, Doom posting, right? Remember, it's a free game, so because it's a free game, and people like this don't even put $5 a month, then other people that spend money on the game, should have no reason to express how they feel because the game is free, right? Maybe it's hard for you to understand, but this kind of game is not about the gameplay itself. I just can't get over that line. Maybe it's hard for you to understand that games like this, that market themselves with great gameplay, great combat mechanics, dodging, parrying, intros, outros, team synergies, buffs, all of that is about the combat and is about the gameplay itself. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. That's why some people are somehow tired of the lack of events when it's a gacha game. I'm tired of people continuing to downplay these games by calling them gacha games, and then those same people complain that the devs aren't doing enough when it suits their particular thing. Let's say they liked story. If the devs weren't doing story, they'll be like, yo, they're not doing the story, the game sucks, blah 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 blah. But the whole but it's a gacha game. That doesn't apply when it suits them, right? Never prioritize a free gacha game as your main one or one of it to evade this kind of disappointment. Okay, so we're gonna act like just because it's a free game, it doesn't make millions upon millions of dollars, and we shouldn't hold them to higher standards. Come on now, make it make sense. Stop being so brain dead, guys, because I'm gonna be honest, at the end of the day, we can continue having this argument. I'm down to chat it up with anybody, bro, regarding any of these topics. But I'm not gonna allow, if you're down to have a conversation, for you to strawman this conversation and aim it in a different light, aim it in a different direction. Because ain't nobody gonna do that, bro. We gonna keep it straight. We gonna keep it on topic, and we gonna chat about what needs to be said. Because the real question is, if us, the one combat events, are absolutely fine with the leisure events, with the puzzles, with the tower defense, and we think they're good, we're happy with the story, why are you so upset that we say we would like some combat events? Why are you so upset that we are not happy with getting puzzles for 5 months in a row? Why does it bother you that we don't enjoy the game in the same way that you do? At least we're not advocating for the things that you like to not be added and to be removed, and that we shouldn't care about those things like a lot of y'all are. We're not downplaying people that like the puzzles. We're not downplaying people that like the tower defense. We're saying that's great. The events are good, and I'm glad you like them. But I want the ones that I like too, that are part of what the game is all about. So at the end of the day, I think some of y'all really got to get the stick out of your ass, got to get off your high horse, got to get off this pedestal where you think you're so smart and so intelligent and you're out here better than other people. Because at the end of the day, this is a real normal topic that some of y'all are pointing in very different directions, and y'all just look stupid, bro. But that's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys on the next one, and peace.